Welcome to MS is Chronic. My name is Barney Black. I have multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed in 2017 after first symptoms were identified in 2002. Our first guest is the wonderful Heather Mcqueen. I met Heather a couple of years ago, but there's a good chance I met Heather when we were kids because she is a good friend of my sister Ramona. And Heather's story with MS is similar, but like everybody, has its own uniqueness and its own flavour specifically for Heather. The episode carries a few warnings. The subject matter can be quite sensitive. The language can certainly be quite blue, but you're guaranteed lots of laughs. You're guaranteed to hear what it's like living with multiple sclerosis. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thank you, Heather. First victim, guest of MS is Chronic. It's a podcast which intends to be just a blather with us talking about the shitty disease that we've got, multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
Sharing personal experiences with no filters about your experience in your life with MS from when it all began to become a reality from whatever symptoms that you were having. And before we kind of go into your story, you made me laugh when we were setting this up. Just the other day there, I was telling you what I think we'll call the podcast. And for anybody listening, if you are of a sensitive nature, you might want to turn this wee bit down. But I sent to you when they call the podcast MS is Chronic, and your reply was, what's better than MS is a cunt? And I have to be honest, I laughed out loud when I saw that. And my sister, I should say to the listeners as well that Heather is good pals with my sister, which I have to be honest, I never knew you growing up. I don't think.
No, I don't think
I don't think
so.
our paths crossed that much. Different years at school and everything else. And North Newton for me was after I had kind of established friendships
you were too cool.
and all that. Well, I'm not sure about that, but a year difference back then seems quite a lot, doesn't it? Anyhow, I was quite nosy on your Facebook page.
Stalking,
yeah. But with no ulterior motives other than just to find out what kind of stuff you put out about MS. And you recently posted on my birthday, no less.
Oh, was it?
On the 30th of April, the beginning of MS Awareness Week. And I'm going to read this just for people to hear it, because when I read it, it just rang so true for me. It was just, there was this, I don't know if insight's the right word.
I can't remember where I read it first, but I was just like, this is spot on. So.
Well, if it's something you've taken or something you've edited and put in your own words and that, it just resonated with me massively, and I think it will with a lot of people with MS. So this is what you wrote. It's MS Awareness Week, so I thought I'd make you aware of what fakers people with MS really are. Every day they fake being comfortable and not suffering pain or discomfort. They fake being well all the time. Go and ask someone with MS how they are and you'll get, I'm okay. I do that all the time. I'm fine. In fact, you asked me how was I said, I'm all right. Or I'm getting by. I'll come out. They're faking it. They even fake having energy. They forget things and get embarrassment, so it becomes a fake joke. Lol, my memory. Or, sorry, I'm digressing here. Or I'll go, oh, that's just my MS.
Yeah.
You know? Even though it's cutting them up inside when the confusion sets in. They put all their effort into walking straight lines so you don't know they stagger. They concentrate on every word they say so that they don't slur or stammer. On top of all that, they'll even tell the doctor that everything is okay, even when they just want a holiday from their own body. They just fake all the time in an attempt to fit in and make everybody else comfortable. What people with MS won't fake, having an incurable disease that only gets worse as the damage builds. It's the one thing they'd love to fake, but until that changes, they just keep faking everything else every day. That just, I've never heard that or read that before.
Yeah.
And when you've shared it, I just thought, wow, that's so accurate, because we
Yeah,
kind of have a stoic approach.
we all do. I mean, and apologies again to people of a sensitive disposition, but um, now when I say fine, I actually mean fine, because in my world, fine stands for F for fucked up, I for insecure, N for neurotic, and E for emotional.
Okay.
So when people ask me if I'm fine, I'm like, I'm fine.
But it means
But it
something.
means something
That's
different to
clever.
me.
I like that.
It's always about not wanting to make other people feel
You
bad,
don't want to impose yourself, do you?
yeah, yeah. So you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, so you lie. It's
Yeah.
as simple as you
Yeah.
just like, oh, it's not that
Then you
bad.
move on pretty quick, don't
Yeah,
you?
and you move on to something. How are you?
Yeah.
And you listen to their, oh, I've had a terrible cold, and you're like, I have you.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you
I get
poor,
that. I
poor
get that.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's hard going sometimes.
No, I mean, this isn't about me. This is you. This is
Yeah,
you, my
yeah,
guest. But I probably underplay the symptoms that I have got, and I always say to people, I find myself, I believe I'm at the very low end of the scale when it comes to whatever impact MS has. And the funny thing is, I've got nothing to compare that against, because I don't know how you feel. I know you can describe how
yeah,
you feel, and physically I might be able to see that you use the stroller or whatever it might
yeah,
be, but I don't know how you feel. And I said to you at the start, just as we were kind of setting up, sometimes I feel a bit of an imposter with the MS.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas, like, I haven't got anything visibly going on, which people could maybe say, oh, he's got something wrong with him.
Aye, but I think in the beginning, when my MS was had just not long been diagnosed, and I got a blue badge because walking a distance for me was difficult. My
Right.
leg would start dragging. So getting out of the car, I looked perfectly fine. What people didn't see was the state I was in coming back to the
Yeah.
car. But the looks I would get getting out of the car when I looked okay, I find myself putting on a limp
Try to
because
exaggerate the reason. You can
because
justify that.
yeah, because I was feeling so judged.
Yeah.
And I did get comments. It wasn't sort of like all in my mind.
Occasionally
You
somebody would be
did
a
get
harsh.
folks saying, "Oh, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And you're like, really?
Oh, man. Right. Well, let's go way back. I don't know
Way
actually how
back.
far back. So when from the first symptoms that you can
Yeah.
recall, that you can say,
The very first, well, it kind of comes in two steps. In 2006, I woke up one day in October, I think it was, literally with a numb bum. And I went, oh, that's a bit odd. I must have slept funny. Didn't think anything of it, carried on my day.
yeah.
Working as a music teacher in primary schools, so full on, hectic. Mum of a 4-year-old. So yeah, I was just like, must have slept funny. So that was literally on the Monday. On the Tuesday, I was like, that's feeling a bit worse. And I was needing to go to the toilet. I was needing to pee all of the time. And sometimes not quite making it. Thinking, this is really weird. On the Wednesday, I've still not even said anything to my husband, and I'm still going to work. My left foot, big toe, went numb. And I thought, no, that it's the way I'm standing at the piano when I'm doing the songs with the kids. I've obviously twanged something. I must have trapped a nerve.
Yeah.
On the Thursday, it had crept up to my knee, numb bum, struggling to make it to the toilet on time. So I said to my husband on the Thursday, do you know what? I've had this weird sensation. And he was like, since when? Monday. What? Get to the doctors. Get yourself to the doctors. So I went to the doctors on the Thursday and expected to be told, oh, you've just trapped a nerve, you'll be fine. But the doctor was a bit more concerned and he went, I think maybe we should get you booked in for a MRI scan.
As quick as that. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I went, oh, okay. He said, I'll put it in as an urgent referral. You should hear in a few weeks. And I went, right, okay. On Friday, my left leg just kept collapsing from under me, so I went back to the doctor because he said if it gets any worse, come back. So it had got worse, came back. Saw a different doctor who was actually on a placement at the practice, and between you and me was much more switched on than the doctor that I had seen that was waiting for retirement. And he was like, nah, I'm not happy with this. He said, I'm going to get you to go up to 9 miles right now. Can somebody take you? So at that point, they thought it was something called cauda equine syndrome,
Right. Okay.
which is a slip disc, but in the coccyx, in that area. But if it's not treated really quickly, you have permanent nerve damage that's irreversible. So I'm like, oh my God, get to 9 miles, see a neurosurgeon. Horrible, absolutely horrible. Him and his entourage walked in. I'm naked from the waist down as they're doing pinprick tests, all in between my legs. And you're like, oh my God. Sent me for an MRI. I'm getting prepped for surgery. And then the MRI comes back. The neurosurgeon comes in and goes, it's not cauda equine. You can get dressed and go home now. So I was that relieved that I wasn't about to get operated on. I went, all right, okay. And got dressed and went home. Got home and suddenly went, oh, what is wrong with me then? So I went back to my GP on the Monday and said, so they said it wasn't that, but nobody's told me what it is. And he went, well, they've referred you to neurology now. I went, all right, okay. He said it'll be an urgent referral, so you should get seen pretty quick. Yeah. So I did get seen pretty quick. I think that was November. I got seen by neurology. Saw a neurologist who said it's probably nothing. You don't need to worry. We're going to get another MRI of your brain because they'd only MRI'd my lumbar region. Okay. Yeah. Says we'll get a brain scan, spinal scan. You'll probably be better by the time the scan comes through, but go anyway. I was like, right, okay. Scan came through in January. So this is from October
to January 2006.
So January, and nothing has improved. I'm signed off work. Things are only getting worse. Yeah. And then I got a letter from that scan saying, we found abnormalities in your brain scan. We need you to have a lumbar puncture. So I was like, what do you mean? This is in the letter. This is in a letter. And why do they always send you letters on a Friday? They always send you these letters on a Friday. You can't phone anybody.
You got a weekend to dwell on it.
So so that was the Friday. On the Monday, I'm back to my GP going, what does this mean? Have I got a brain tumour? What is it? And he went, I can't tell you. I don't know. So then I have to go for, I know what happened. I stubbed my toe of the numb foot, my little toe, but it wasn't sore.
Didn't feel it.
But I knew there was something wrong with it because my pinky was pointing in the wrong direction. And hubby goes, you've dislocated that. I said, put it back. And he says, I'm not putting it back. I said, I can't feel it. He said, I'm not putting it back. So went up to A&E and said, look, I'm really sorry, but I think I've dislocated my toe. And they were like, whoa, do you want some pain relief? And I said, I can't feel it. And they were like, has anybody checked you for why you can't feel it? So I explained, well, I've been seen by neurology. I've had a scan. I'm waiting to see a neurologist and all the rest of it. So the well-meaning A&E junior doctor, he said, oh, give me a minute, I'll see if I can find out anything for you. So I was thinking, fab, excellent, put me out of my misery. So off he goes, and then he comes back, sticks his head in the curtain and went, yeah, it looks like you've got MS, but you can go now. I didn't even know what MS was.
I think I'd heard of it, but
I didn't know what it was. No. So I had heard of MND.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna die. Oh my God. Came home, I was in floods of tears, going, oh my God. And then I discovered, Google MS.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, okay, so it's not MND, so I'm not going to die. But it looks pretty shitty.
It's not. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Picking the fight.
So
Yeah.
by the time I actually saw a neurologist, which was in the February,
Yeah.
I had read everything there was to read about MS.
And that's 2006.
That's 2006. It wasn't great.
Back then, yeah.
And the amount of DMDs was fairly limited as well.
Half a dozen tops,
if that.
Yeah.
So when Professor O'Riordan, well, he was Dr. O'Riordan back then.
That's what I saw.
I came in for the consultation. I had the lumbar puncture by then as well, which was positive for the oligoclonal bands, whatever.
Yeah, I can't say the word either.
And he said, so I got ushered in. There'd been loads of people before me. When it was my turn to go in, he had the MS nurse. Well, I didn't know it was the MS, but a nurse comes in and I'm thinking, nobody else has had a nurse. Why am I getting a nurse? Why am I getting a nurse? And then on the table, there was a folder that said MS information, Heather Mcqueen. And I was like, okay then. So this would have been early February, March 2007.
So this is 5 months on.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And he goes, you've got MS. And I went, right, okay. Is it the benign one? Because I'd like the benign one. And he went, well, we're not sure. It's probably relapsing remitting. I said, but it's not progressive? You don't think it's progressive MS? And he went, well, at this stage, it's really difficult to make a definitive, but I would say it's looking more like it's going to be relapse remitting. I went, oh, well, that's all right then. That's fine. And he went, do you understand what I'm telling you, Mrs. Mcqueen? You've got MS. I said, yeah, but I don't want progressive because that's really shit. Yeah. This is only slightly shit. When so that was my diagnosis in a nutshell. But I found out in all of that time that I'd had optic neuritis 10 years before that number. I
was going to ask you, so that's what got you to quite a short time scale.
When I've been online and read about people's diagnosis journeys, I've been like, wow.
But you've obviously, in hindsight, you can say, you know what, there were things going on in my body which now have to be attributed to MS.
Totally.
So the optic neuritis.
Optic neuritis, but back in, so that would have been in 1995, 96.
Okay.
I woke up one morning and it looked like I was looking through, the black and white fuzz you get on the telly. Yeah. It looked like I was looking through that. And I was like, it's really weird.
Is it both eyes, one eye?
I've not got a lot of sight in my right eye anyway. Right, okay. So when my left eye does anything wonky, it's always a bit, oh.
Yeah.
I went to the optician and he was like, nah, I'll send you to the eye hospital because I was in Liverpool at that point. Went to the eye hospital and they were like, I think we'll send you for a scan.
Yeah.
In the meantime, it should clear up of its own accord in 6 weeks. Right, okay. Went for the scan, went for the results of the scan. So this is about 2 months later. And all they said to me was, yes, it looks like you've had some inflammation of the optic nerve. I went, right. Is it likely to come back? No. Should I be worried about it? No. All right, then, that's fine. And I took them at their word.
You'd have been 25 then.
I would have been 25, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, fine. But then when Dr. Reardon said that was probably your first attack, and then I had a relapse that I didn't know was a relapse when my daughter was born, but I was a new mum, and I thought all new mums were dealing with that.
I've read mums going through pregnancy after giving birth can suffer a relapse.
I always suffered horrific fatigue, but again, I put that down to my job.
Hard work, constant.
Yeah, I mean,
with kids at school.
I mean, I was working secondary school in inner city Liverpool. Yeah. I put everything down to it's my job.
Yeah.
Looking back now, it's like, but you didn't know.
But you don't know.
But you don't know. And I reckon I can even go back as far as my teens because I was going to the doctor for unexplained pains that were always in my left side. Was told it was growing pains, which annoyed me because I've been 5'2" since I was 12. It's like, really?
It's funny because I don't know if everybody does it, but I've tried to track back instances in my life from when I first went to the doctor in 2002, which I know was a point of notes were made that MS was a consideration, but it was never discussed with me. I only found that out when I met the neurologist 13 years later.
Yeah.
But being a teenager, funnily enough, there was I remember having really bad pain in my abdomen area, really crippling pain, which you just put down to either something you've eaten or a pulled muscle or whatever it was. But it always passed within a couple of hours. And I don't know, but you kind of think, could that have been the start of something? Could that have been the first signs?
I mean, I still genuinely believe that, because when I did start getting all the pains and stuff with definite that was MS causing it, it was in exactly the same places as I was getting it as a teenager. And I'm like, but I mean, lots of people have said to me, do you not feel really bitter that they didn't diagnose you when you had optic neuritis? And I'm like, no, in all honesty, that 10 years of ignorance was bliss.
You just did what you
did. Because I just did what I did.
And
it wouldn't have changed the treatment options. It wouldn't have changed the course of my disease. I mean, there wasn't much on offer in 2007 when I was put on a DMT. There was even less in 95, 96.
Yeah.
So all it would have done is just given me that
just a heavy load to deal with. Yeah.
Of, is that MS? Oh, what's going to happen next? Oh.
I'm going to come back to that because you made me think of something else. But you talked about DMTs and getting put on one in 2007.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have been a big choice.
No.
And they're treating it, I guess, as relapsing remitting.
Yeah.
That's the kind of consideration at the time. What was
my first one was Copaxone.
Okay.
Which was a daily injection.
That's the injection, isn't it?
And I was on that for about 18 months.
Wow.
Before we decided it's not working, it's not doing, because I was getting constant UTIs. I mean, I was taught to self-catheterize on the same day I was diagnosed.
Jesus.
Because my bladder has never recovered.
Right, okay.
That was kind of the big thing that never recovered. Right. So, and they were like, right, self-catheterization. And don't get me wrong, that did help and it gave me a sense of control back. But I kept getting UTIs, and every time I got a UTI, it would then give me an MS flare-up, and then I'd be off work for about 6 weeks, and then I'd go back to work, and the stress of work, and then I'd get another UTI, and it was just this constant cycle. And then it was decided that, I think I'd had another scan, and it was like, no, the Copaxone's not working, we're going to put you on. They put me on to Rebif.
Did the other scans show an increase in lesions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they put me on Rebif, and Rebif I was on for 2 years. No problems. It was beta interferon 1A,
and
I think.
Was that
injection again.
How often?
3 times a week.
Oh, right.
It was 3 times a week. Much less painful than Copaxone. Copaxone,
I've seen folks sharing images of
the big welts, itchy welts. Rebif, you don't get anything like that, but you feel like you've got the flu.
Right, okay.
But I would take it at night, a couple of paracetamol, and I'd wake up in the morning and it was fine. And I was on that, no problems at all, and my MS was stable-ish.
Yeah.
Still getting relapse, still getting steroids, but not as many.
Okay.
And then one day I injected and suddenly had an allergic reaction. Didn't know it was to Rebif, but we couldn't find anything else. Ended up in hospital. They said, I think it's probably Rebif. And I went, but I've been on it for 2 years. So anyway, after...
just had enough.
Yeah, I ended up having to go and see a dermatologist because that then gave me chronic idiopathic urticaria, which is hives, welts.
Oh, crikey.
I'm not allergic to anything in particular. It's almost like my body's allergic to itself.
Reacting
It just,
to stuff.
yeah.
It's almost like it's trying to cleanse itself, isn't it?
Yeah. So when I saw a dermatologist, he explained it the best way anybody's explained it to me. He said, they're called disease-modifying drugs, and they modify your immune system. That's what they're designed to do. Rebif has modified your immune system a little bit too much and not in a good way.
Okay.
So now your body's reacting by creating more histamine, and that's what that is. So I said, because I was happy on Rebif, I said, are you sure it's Rebif? Because I don't want to stop taking it if it was a bug that bit me.
Yeah.
But the only way to really tell is to inject yourself again.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't advise doing that because it could end up being anaphylactic. And I went,
much
all right,
worse reaction.
all right, okay, yeah, all right.
So this would be about 2009-10?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I listened to them carefully and then got my husband to drive me to PRI car park outside A&E, and I injected again to see.
Just to check if it would have that.
And it did.
And
it did.
So you did have a...
But I was in the right place. And they were like...
Got lots of fire, I guess. So.
Really? So I was taken off Rebif. Then they put me on Extavia.
I've never heard of that.
Which was another injectable 3 times a week and made me so ill. Joint pains like I've never known. And I ended up in hospital in 2010 for about 8 weeks. Where they couldn't get on top of the pain, and then decided, you know what? Dr. Dean was like, so when did this pain start? And I was like, about then. He said, was that about the same time as you started Extavia? And I went, yeah.
Oh, funny that.
Right, let's maybe take you off Extavia. So I got taken off Extavia, and then I got put on Tysabri. Is that it? Yeah, Tysabri. That was a life changer for me.
Right,
That was a complete game changer. Brilliant.
Now, Tysabri
at the time was a 4-weekly infusion done in hospital. Yeah. I believe now it's just an injection.
Right, okay.
Some people, I don't know if you can do it at home or whether you've got to go into hospital and sit for a bit, but it's just an injection now. Yeah. Tysabri was brilliant, and I was on that for nearly 6 years. 6 years.
Okay, so a period of stability, certainly with the DMT.
Totally. Yeah. And then I suddenly became JC positive.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'd
been JC negative the whole time. And then one day the bloods came back and said, not only are you positive, but you're a very high positive.
Okay.
And I just got a phone call the day before my infusion saying, no.
That's it. Okay.
That's it. And I was gutted. And that ended up being around, I had to come off Tysabri just as the pandemic hit.
Okay.
And that was not great, having to change a disease-modifying drug.
In that period of time when there's so many limitations just in general, but clearly...
So I had a long spell. It would probably be nearly 18 months where I wasn't on anything.
Wow, so you've gone 6 years being stable, then JC virus kicks in.
On nothing. I had a rebound relapse when I came off Tysabri, which apparently can happen.
Yeah. Is that kind of like a withdrawal type thing?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
So I had that, and then I didn't actually start for another 8 months onto Ocrevus.
Okay.
And Ocrevus has been a disaster.
Are you still on that?
I had my last Ocrevus infusion in December.
Okay.
I was due it in June, but I'm changing over to Kesimpta now.
And is Kesimpta an infusion as well?
Nope, it's an injection I do once a month.
Another injection, right? Yeah. Do it monthly. Okay.
It's in the same family as Ocrevus, but hopefully it won't give me the same side effects.
Okay.
My body couldn't tolerate, and we stuck it out for 2 years, but my body just can't tolerate Ocrevus. Just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And I've had 2 relapses. I had what they call an acute spinal relapse in September 2022 that had me in hospital for 3 months.
So that actually took you off your feet and put you into hospital. Pain as well as mobility.
Pain, mobility, bladder, bowel,
Jesus.
eyesight, the full hit.
Wow.
So that's why I now, when I'm out, it's a wheelchair. When I'm in, it's a walker.
Yeah.
I've got a prism for my specs. I've got an indwelling catheter.
Okay. And tell me if I'm asking too personal questions. were you re-diagnosed with progressive MS, or
No,
have you still been given the
I've
relapsing?
still, they've kind of, at
Or
one
is it
point they
secondary
said
first, or?
I'm in the realms of secondary progressive with relapses,
Okay.
which was a new one for me. I didn't, but
I think there's a fourth one being introduced as
yeah,
well. There's a fourth stage. I
just keep
can't keep up
changing.
with it, but yeah.
But I think officially I'm still being classified as relapsing remitting, possibly because that gives me more leeway with what disease modifying
Treatments
drugs.
that are available. Okay.
Because if you are classified
Progressive.
as
There's hee
secondary
haw,
progressive,
really.
there's not really anything. I think there's one out there. I can't
There's a
remember
couple
what
of
it's
trials as
called.
well, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen a couple of guys in Scotland posting.
We'll give Kesimpta a go and hope for the best.
And how long have you been on Kesimpta?
My first injections are next month.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good luck with that.
So hopefully.
And with Kesimpta, because I'm ignorant to I've heard of most of the ones, and then you start to talk about ones which just foreign language. I was offered, I think it was offered, would I have been offered Copaxone?
Probably. I think it came under another name as well for a little while.
I was offered two.
Yeah.
That and Tecfidera because of the trademark. Now Tecfidera no longer carries a trademark. It's still dimethyl fumarate, but it's Mayan or something's a company now. It's obviously cheaper to get it for them than it is Tecfidera.
Yeah.
But and I've been really lucky. I've been really lax with it. I took a period. So it sounds like you went quite quickly from a diagnosis or a confirmation of what the symptoms you were going through to getting some sort of treatment. Was it 5 months, 6 months from
something like that?
October
it really
to
was really quickly. Yeah.
Treatment. And then I remember the MS nurse
Christine
Wheeler.
Watley. Aye.
Having to try and get the neurologist as well, which was O'Riordan.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of neurologists. Then I eventually ended up with him in Dundee. They're telling you the recommendation now is to get on the disease modifying drug. Yeah. The sooner the better, to try and make sure you limit or reduce any exacerbations, whatever you call them. And that took me till September. So I was diagnosed in the February of 2017, and it was September. I went, right, okay. Karen, my wife, she was, well, you know better than the doctors do, you? I was like, well, I'm really pulled and torn between, because again, like you, and we'll talk about going down the rabbit hole on the internet and channels and things and looking for advice and some sort of idea of exactly what you can expect. But I went on it, and then for about 18 months, I was pretty consistent with it, set my alarms AM and PM. And then I thought, I've convinced myself that I can live the life that I want to live, just with a few adjustments to my eating patterns. And I was healthy and fit anyway. Well, healthy as much as you can be with this thing kind of lurking in the background. So I went 6 months without anything after having taken it for a period, then back on it. I'm still not absolutely AM and PM. And I've turned my alarms off, and it's like, oh shit, I forgot my tablet.
Yeah.
Because there's a defiance in me to some degree about it, because like you're reminded of it every day, probably because of how it's impacted on you physically, as well as mentally, but physically certainly.
Physically, right? I can't hide from it.
But every day I was getting a morning reminder, you've got MS.
Yeah.
And a PM reminder, you've got MS. And it does play with you. It does it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally get that. I think you're quite often, various people tell you, oh, you just need to put it to the back of your mind. I'm like, I can't piss by myself. How can I put that to the back of my mind? Don't tell me to. It's there.
Yeah.
It's there for crying out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm dropping instruments on kids. I can't.
I was going to ask you, so you're still teaching through all of this?
Up until I got retired in 2010.
Oh, that's quick then, 4 years.
2006 to 2010, my MS was out of control.
Right, so it just really kind of wasn't letting up.
Yeah, it just wasn't letting up. And, my daughter was 5, 6.
Yeah.
And it's not the sort of job, you're a primary school music teacher.
Oh, you're a music teacher, yeah.
So you're on your feet, you're doing head, shoulders, knees and toes, turn around, touch the ground.
Oh, look, Mrs. on the floor again.
Don't laugh, but that happened. That happened. Doing it with nursery one time, and it was the end of the action song, where you stand up, touch the ground, turn around, lie on the ground. We're all lying there, and I'm thinking, oh, bugger, I can't get up. So we're all lying there, and then a wee voice goes, Mrs. Mcqueen, can we get up now? I went, yeah, and I'm going to give a sticker.
Maybe a wee Scouse voice.
No,
You
I
back
was
in
in
Perth?
Perth by
Right,
here.
okay.
Can I'm going to give a sticker to whoever can get up the slowest, slower than me. So we all got up very slowly. And I was like, oh God, all I need is for Ofsted to walk in now,
Brilliant strategy. Brilliant. That's
But yeah, wasn't long after that it was kind of decided that. I
just
mean,
to,
and I'd gone from full time to part
yeah.
time to more part time, and then it didn't just become a health decision; it became a financial decision.
Yeah.
Because it was going to affect, if I was going down to 2 days a week, that was going to affect my overall pension.
Everything. Impacts
Yeah.
everything, your whole lifestyle.
So it was like, and I think it was my GP who was absolutely brilliant and was the original GP who was on placement but ended up getting a
And we're
full-time
still
job.
young, but you'd only be 39 then.
Yeah. And he was like, well, why are you working? What are you doing it for? He said, you've got no work-life balance. You work, you sleep.
Yeah.
Who are you doing it for? And I'm like, well, yeah, but...
But music's always been in your life.
Yeah.
And teaching it was obviously something.
Yeah, I mean, I loved
a
it.
vocation.
Well, it is to a certain extent.
But it was something that you...
And I loved it. And that was probably even harder than giving up work, was giving up music, which I had to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Just as my mobility, my left hand doesn't work.
Violin.
It was viola, piano, voice. And I mean, before I retired, the kids just used to laugh at Mrs. Mcqueen's assembly piano playing because it was comical. My left hand wasn't doing the same as my right hand at all, and they would just giggle. It was just funny, and I think it was teaching.
Like that walking on my sketch.
Well, yeah,
playing all the right notes,
just not in the right order. Yeah, I was like Les Dawson on a bad day, really. And you've got to have been of a certain age to understand that joke.
Yeah. Well, I understand it. He's amazing.
But I mean, that was a reason as to why I was very open and honest about my diagnosis very early.
I was going to ask you, so I call it you're coming out with MS. So who and when? Obviously, your husband.
So I'm off sick, and I've been off sick from the numb bum to up to just before the summer holidays. So I did a phased back to work in the summer and never even managed to get back to full time before it was the summer holidays. So it was decided by September that I would be down to 4 days instead of 5 days.
Yeah.
So when I went back on the phased return, there was rumours circulating because I work in lots of schools, why is she off? My daughter's in primary school and Perth is just a big village.
Oh, aye.
So,
without a doubt.
I mean, I could teach something at North Merton Primary, and by the time I was at Medfin Primary on Friday, they knew what we were going to do because, my cousin lives in North Merton, sort of thing. So one of my worries was that one of the rumours, which was Mrs. Mcqueen had cancer, was going to filtrate down to Louise. And I didn't want that to happen.
Louise?
Louise would have been, had just turned 6.
Right.
I thought, well, I just need to be open. So I went to sort of like I had 3 main schools. I mean, I think I had at one point 15 schools that I went to over a fortnight. So I had 3 main schools though that I went to every week.
Yeah.
So I went and saw those head teachers first and explained the situation. I said, look, when I come back on my phased return, I want to be open about it with the staff and with the kids, but I don't obviously want to step on anybody's toes. Is it okay? And she was like, if you're comfortable doing it, that's fine. Yeah. So when I went back, I'd gone into the staff room before I went back to work, just sort of like catch up for like, oh, how are you doing? And I said I had, MS, and I got various reactions, some that I have to laugh about now. It wasn't funny at the time, but I had one person come up to me and went, MS, don't worry, I've had a touch of that once, but I'm all right. I was just like,
good, thanks.
Aye, all right then. That was one reaction. And I had another reaction from a lovely, lovely teacher who had obviously got mistaken, and I'd actually broken down, and I was in tears in the
Mm.
staff room, and I was telling them, and they were going, "Oh God, that's it's so awful. You're so young." She'd come in at the staff, and she said, "What's wrong? What's up? What's wrong?" And they said, "Oh, Heather's got MS." And she went, "Oh, don't worry. So and so had that, and she's fine now." And everybody just kind of stopped, and she went, "What? No, it's not ME. It's MS." Apologies to anybody that has ME, because that's absolutely debilitating
as
too.
well. Yeah,
So I'm
absolutely.
not playing down
Yeah.
that.
But back then as well, less was known.
Less was known as well.
And perceptions were completely different.
As far as the kids were concerned, I told them, like I told Louise, "I've got MS. What's that? It's multiple sclerosis. Oh, that's a funny name. Yep. Are you going to die?" Because kids are up front. I said, "No, I'm not going to die. It's not going to make me die. It might make me fall over sometimes. It might make me get my words muddled up. Might make me be a bit dopey, but I'll be fine." And the kids were like, "Yeah, all right then, that's fine." That was
They're
fine.
resilient as well. They're kind of like, okay.
Well, see, I didn't want to go in and say anything, because I thought, there could be a kid in this class whose parent has MS. So I'm not going to go in and go, "Oh, I've got this," because I didn't. That's not how I told Louise either. And the kids were just like, "Oh, all right, fine."
Yeah.
I had my walking stick, and they were, "Oh, is that because your leg's not working today, miss?" "Yeah." "Cool." And that was fine. So I know lots of people, and I understand why lots of other people don't want to tell, but I didn't want it to be like a dirty little secret.
I wanted to share. And I didn't want, like you, I didn't want it to be something which suddenly became an issue, because I didn't know how it was going to develop and evolve. So you've got that uncertainty, because you just don't know, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought, in some sort of egotistical way, I'll be an advocate. I'll talk about it, and I'll bring people awareness to it and everything else. And then I started to do that, and I thought, I've actually got very little to say as well. So I began to pull back.
Yeah.
And then I think there was someone you said earlier about the pace at which it changes, and how telling people doesn't make any difference to the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
And it was actually about, it was when you were saying that you wish you had known when you first had your eye tested.
Yeah.
And now that I know, when I first went and got my first MRI in 2002 and put a neck brace on because they thought maybe it's a trapped nerve from a football injury or something like that, would it have made any difference to me in 2002 compared to when I was diagnosed in 2017? And I genuinely don't think it would have made it, like you, any real difference to the choices I made in life and all the rest of it. Because I continue to live life, as far as I was aware, as hale and hearty as I ever was.
Yeah.
With the odd thing going on which just seemed weird. And I'd go to the doctors every 2 or 3 years to say, "I've got this feeling." "All right, okay, we'll get you checked." And they go for, Christ, I went for, scans. I had electric.
Oh, the nerve conduction
thing.
Yeah.
To see, obviously, they were tracking the nerve and where it would break if it did not complete a circuit. I don't know. That was quite severe, actually.
These apps.
They
cover you in a wee bit of water and then put a thing on. I was like, well, I was shit at physics, but even I think that this doesn't mix well.
This is going to hurt. And various other stuff. And then you go through the barrage of tests, and you've got to do that lumbar puncture to be conclusive. And anyway, so I've got no idea if in 2002 I was told this could be MS, let's do a whole barrage of tests and get it found out. But my symptoms weren't severe. Certainly, they were nothing close to what you experienced. They were probably just, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, quite subtle. The numbness, the tingling, the pins and needles in my feet and my arms and stuff.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing. And now, looking back, I can see if I'd possibly gone to the doctor after the optic neuritis that I didn't know was optic neuritis, with all the little bits and bobs, but maybe it would have been joined up quicker.
Yeah, but we kind of tolerate stuff.
Yeah, you just
think it'll pass.
Yeah, well, let's say, it was like, oh, I've got a trapped nerve. Oh, I work in Liverpool with teenagers. That'll be it.
Yeah, you're doing a lot, you're tired, you've probably got a bit of stress going on anyway. Of course, your body's
I'm
going to
absolutely
react.
exhausted.
Yeah.
You know, that'll be the show.
Yeah.
There was always I could always find a reason.
Absolutely.
And I, even after I was diagnosed for a long time, and to a certain extent, I think some people would say now, I will always try and find another reason rather than it be the MS. You know, it's I'm not. It's nothing to do with my MS.
Yeah.
I've just got this.
Yeah. Maybe it's because I'm we're very similar age, but because I'm in my 50s, I kind of put everything down now to getting old.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I do, and I think that's a natural defence mechanism as well.
Yeah.
That my MS isn't actually doing stuff in the background. And I had a scan, so just for the record, I did have a scan in October, and it came back saying everything's stable, the lesions haven't changed in size, and there's no additional lesions. So that's great news.
That's great news.
Doesn't mean there's nothing happening. It just means that there's certainly nothing significant
visible. Nothing visible on a scan.
Nothing visible on a scan. So that kind of gives you a wee bit of confidence that the life I'm living is healthy-ish enough to kind of keep living the way I am.
More recently, I got a big slap in the face that goes, do you know, maybe sometimes you should stop thinking it's this, that, and the next thing, and it is actually your MS. Because the relapse I had in 2022, I ignored all of the warning signs. I knew it was happening. I knew there was a relapse building up. The fatigue, the leg kept dropping, the foot was dropping, the UTIs were increasing, the fatigue was off the scale, and I just
the tremors are happening.
Yep, and I'm ignoring it and ignoring it and ignoring it, and then boom.
Was that just you in denial?
In denial, and lots of other stuff happening at home. It was like I don't have time.
Busy.
I don't have time for this. You know, I don't have time for an MS relapse right now.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with this and this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the body doesn't work like that, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah, but you just keep plodding on.
I just kept plodding on.
Until your body says, right, enough.
Until I literally collapsed in a heap and ended up, and I was still in denial then. I couldn't get out of my bed. I couldn't move. I was still self-catheterising at that point. So I've been in a situation before where my mobility gets so bad, I get really bad back spasms, and I can't self-catheterise. So I'm known to the district nurses, and every so often I might need to get an indwelling catheter put in. So I just got in touch with the out-of-hours district nurses and said, look, this has happened. I'm struggling. Can you come and put a catheter in? So they did that. And Steve was like, I really think I should call out-of-hours. And I went, oh, there's no point. There's no point. They'll, what are they going to do? I've got MS. They'll just go, you've got MS. They went, you can't move. And I went, it'll be fine. And that weekend, it was also something to do with the Queen's death. And it was a bank holiday on the Monday or something.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't phone the doctors on the Monday. I told Steve, I said, do not phone an ambulance. I will divorce you.
Did he phone an ambulance?
No, he didn't. So he phoned the doctor on Tuesday morning, and my GP spoke to me on the phone, and she said, so where are you now? In my bed. Have you moved since? When have you not? How long have you been in bed now? Since Friday morning. And she went, right, I'm going to come out and see you. And I was like, okay. And she came out and she took one look at me and she went, I'm phoning for an ambulance.
So they took you into hospital?
And they took me into hospital that day.
How long were you in the hospital for?
12 weeks.
Jeez, oh.
Steroids didn't work, so I ended up getting a plasma exchange therapy, which is a new treatment.
Yeah.
Which worked because I can move my leg now, but it was a long, hard-going, arduous, mentally.
Has it made you think I'm not going to
do that
ignore
again?
The signs again? Or
I'd love to say no, but
do you still think
I probably will. I probably will.
Something else?
Yeah, I probably will, because I think there has to be an element of stubbornness to live with this condition.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, as soon as you give up, what have you got left? I mean, sometimes my body makes me stop. I have no choice. Somebody pulls the plug and I'm done. But if I every time I get a wee twinge of something, if I stop and go, oh, it's my MS, what sort of life's that? It's, I mean, in
But you've
some,
got, so you mentally, you're like, it's like defiance, isn't it? It is a case of, look, I'm going to keep going while I can.
yeah.
You know,
I
if I
mean,
have to rest, then MS will make it rest. But right now, I can keep
I'm going to keep going
wading through
until
something.
it says no. I think out of fear, I wouldn't ignore it as long as I did last time.
Yeah.
Because it was probably a good 3-4 months I ignored
right, so it's
it.
not just a
No, it was
weeks.
definitely. See, none of my relapses are the same.
Yeah.
Some people seem either have a wake up one morning they've relapsed, or some people get slow burn.
Yeah.
And I've had both.
That's my concern, because none of mine have been.
No, you can't go
an immediate kind of symptom. They've kind of crept up on me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the scariest one you talked about, numb bum, was when I couldn't feel my lower back or my lower bum. I called it numb bum, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I was keeping myself clean or anything.
Yeah.
And that went on probably for, I don't know, a week and a half. And I said to Karen, a bit like you, what are you feeling? Actually, I've got no feeling. Where I probably should have. I'm going to go to the doctor. And then that was when things kind of sped up for me.
Yeah.
And I went from that to getting to face a neurologist, then a lumbar puncture, and then a diagnosis. But I've never had like the optic neuritis, although at my last eye test, they did say, oh, you've got a scar on your left eye, I think. I was like, oh, right, okay. And there was no connection, and it's possibly just a scar.
Yeah.
But you think, because my eyesight has, particularly my near sight, has just gone in the last few years. I mean, it's not been gradually. It's like almost within a period of a couple of months. Yeah. And I noticed it. I noticed my eyesight deteriorating from a reading distance. Still fine long distance, which
I think, I mean,
it's by the by, it's not.
The mobility, I always thought that it would be my mobility that would stop me driving. It hadn't even dawned on me that it would be my eyesight.
Vision. Yeah.
And I found out since, the double vision started and everything, that you're allowed to drive with one eye. I didn't know that.
Oh, no.
You're not allowed to drive with double vision, understand?
Yeah. 2 roads, 2 cars.
Which one's the real one?
Middle one, yeah.
But you can drive with one eye. Okay. But my double vision, because I've got very little sight in the right eye, and it's the right eye that's causing the double vision, I don't get 2 proper images.
Yeah.
I get one image and then a sort of halo effect, which is what the prism helps. And the other thing that's causing problems with my sight now is cataracts, because nobody mentioned to me, and I've had a lot of steroids over the last 15 odd years, that steroids
that
can cause cataracts.
Wow. It's funny, so it's not funny, but the treatment causes other issues.
Steroids are just horrific.
Yeah, yeah.
And every time I have them, I say I'm never doing it again, until you get to that point where you go, anything is better than this.
You need that boost.
So I was gutted when the steroids did nothing. When I was in hospital
as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I really hope. What's the treatment you're going to be getting?
Kesimpta.
Its
proper name is ofatumumab or something. It's another MAB drug.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Because Tysabri is natalizumab.
Okay.
I know how to say that one.
Yeah.
Ocrevus is ocrelizumab. Kesimpta is.
Because they're all in different families of whatever chemical components are built from, isn't it?
So they're all the same but different.
Going to just jump back into when you told people about your MS. Was that generally just like you were like, right, I'll tell the people in order of priority?
Yeah.
So your husband obviously knew.
Husband knew, family knew.
Family knew.
Work.
And then
I suppose, close friends.
Yeah.
And then, it would be strangers, not because I wanted to, but then because I would have the stick, or I'd be on crutches, and somebody'd say, oh, what have you done to your leg?
Yeah.
And I got fed up of saying, oh, nothing.
Aye.
And I went, I've got MS. And if they wanted to know more, that's fine. If that shut them up, that was fine.
Conversation starter or stopper, isn't it?
Yeah,
it can be, aye.
So I was just like, and I think I've also, over the years, I've stopped being hush-hush about the bladder stuff, the bowel stuff, the sex stuff, because why are we making them taboo? It's happening. But
Yeah, absolutely. It's a reality which would help others as well
yeah.
if they can kind of relate and
So,
understand.
if I see a post and somebody's distraught on, MS Society, MS
Yeah,
Scotland
yeah.
support page, it's like, oh, I shit myself. And it's like, look, don't
Aye.
worry. I'll tell you a story.
Oh,
And, and they'll be like, I'm sorry for
my
laughing, but
my
that cheered me
my
up.
my bowel control. You talked a wee bit about not having any control.
Yeah.
I'm not at that stage, but when I need to go, I've got very little time to find somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
I can't walk very fast. And I've got no clench. I've got no clench control.
Yeah, okay.
So if it's going to go,
it's happening.
It's happening. And
it's going to blow.
Jesus.
It is, yeah.
When I was in hospital, that last time, and it was horrific, and it was either going one way or the other.
Yeah.
I was either backed up for days or nothing. So they kept feeding me that Laxido crap.
Oh.
And then it got to the point after this particular incident, I went, I'm not taking any more. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
I'm not taking that. Been sitting on the bed. I'd had visitors, and then they'd gone. And then the nurse had come to empty my catheter bag, and she'd accidentally spilt a little bit of urine on the bedspread. And she went, oh, I'm sorry, Heather. We'll get you off the bed and we'll change the bed for you. And as she kind of helped me forward a little bit, just got that god-awful, what's that smell? Oh, because I've got no sensation down there again. The numb bums come back. And I went, oh, Carrie. I said, have I done something? And she went, let's pull the curtains round, shall we? So pulled the curtains round, and she went, like, lean forward. And she went, oh, God, Heather, we'll get you to the big toilet. And I went, just get me out of here. So off we go. I get cleaned up, hosed down. Clean jammies, the full hit. Come back in, and then it was later on in the evening I found out that there's always one in your bay, the mood sponge, and it had been this elderly woman that was moaning about everything. Nurses couldn't do this, doctors couldn't do that, and her son had been visiting, and unbeknownst to me, because I wasn't paying any attention, her bed was beside the window, and the windows were open, and she kept asking the nurses, could they shut the windows? Because whatever the farmers were spraying on their fields was stinking. And apparently that wasn't the farmers.
They spraying that night. That's hell.
And I'm just like, oh my God.
Oh dear.
So it's like I've got no dignity. So many health professionals have seen my arse. I've got to the point I'm like, I'm just going to get you to start signing. I was here.
Oh man.
I'm like, I don't think there's anything now that puts me up nor down.
You're not fazed by it because you've been through it all, haven't you?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to have to do a rectal exam. Knock yourself out.
Crack on.
Crack on.
The speech, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, absolutely not. Right, okay, moving on quickly then. What about support networks? Because you were active or you were involved with the MS Society.
Yeah, when I gave up work, well, my first port of call was just by chance, whilst I was waiting for the official diagnosis, not the A&E doctor with his head through the curtain, the official diagnosis. There was a pop-up stand in the Asda in Perth with Perth MS Society.
Oh, right, okay.
So I stopped and had a blether, and they're like, oh, well, we meet up, and it was at the Gateway at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right, I might pop down. And so, a wee while later, after I'd got my diagnosis, I did pop down, and they were nice. It wasn't what I was expecting. Mm-hmm. It felt everybody was friendly, everybody was different. There was the complementary therapies. You could get a head massage or a back massage, Reiki, all the rest of it, and that was nice.
Yeah.
So I went to that, and then because I started going regularly, more than anything for the free massage, to be honest, because it was quite nice. They were like, oh, so you're a teacher? Yeah. You could do with more people on the committee. Chance to be in health and safety. I was like, no. Aye, all right then. So I became the health and safety person. and then I was doing fundraising, and then the chairman at the time, he retired. A lovely man that I'd met, Jim, he was diagnosed roughly the same time as me.
Okay.
He became chairperson, but then his MS got worse and he stood down. And then we had no chairperson, and we were, sitting around the table going, so, and everybody's looking at each other, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it.
Coming your way.
I'll do it then. So I became chairperson for a while. But the therapies, we moved it from the Gateway and ended up being at Queen's Hotel. And
I must have just missed you.
from the sort of, there's maybe 5 to 10 people would go at any one time. I was getting numbers of like 20, 25.
Yeah.
We had 3 therapists come in. It was really good. And then I just got, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. And I just retreated
It's a lot of work.
from everything.
Well,
I was like, well, do you know what?
Say again?
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't.
I just want to grab a quick drink if that's all right.
You
It's
go.
your house.
You guys want another brew or anything?
If it's okay, I'll have a look at the tea. You okay for time?
Aye, I'm fine.
Magic.
Sorry, I did.
This is all.
You're fine.
I love it when it's just natural. Capturing all the.
Oh, when you put it on, it's a nightmare.
I'm a bit messy.
It's a real house.
Yeah.
It's a real podcast. So with the group, MS Scotland group or whatever it is, MS Society Scotland.
Well, originally, it was Perth and Kinross Perth and Kinross MS group.
Scotland group.
Yeah.
So I did get to the Queen's one. So I was just looking for people with being able to relate to people who, like yourself, who can kind of understand the physical but the emotional kind of the thought process. Not the emotional sounds quite asking a lot of lifting, but just the thoughts that go through your head.
Yeah.
You know, the uncertainty and what people may or may not have experienced, and there was probably some perverse thoughts in my head as well about if I see people with MS at a particular stage, does that mean that's the journey I'm on?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You almost kind
Yeah.
of create your own path, or at least you think you're creating your own path, which I now realise is nonsense because it's such a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
So I went to the Queen's, but I could never guarantee I was going to be back in, because I worked away a lot, travelling back and forth, and then they moved it to City Mills.
Yeah.
But it's probably been over 2 years since I went, and I was really sketchy on my attendance.
Yeah.
Love the massages. They're definitely a big bonus. Getting that was a nice wee extra. The coffee in the City Mills leaves a lot to be desired.
Yes.
But that's not the organiser's fault. Yeah, it was another way for me. Sorry.
Or is it?
But the whole network thing is strange, because I found myself online a lot, YouTube. Recently, to do this, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and as I said to you at the start, a lot of them I find are either too clinical.
Yeah.
So it's not people. It is people obviously.
Yeah.
But it's just very formal.
Aye.
And whilst I don't underplay the impact MS has on folk, particularly, I mean, you've had a hell of a journey with it, right? And there's other people, I don't know, do you ever follow or look at the guy Mark Webb?
No.
There's other people there who've got the progressive
Yeah.
MS, and it really becomes debilitating and stuff. So they've been through the shit. But most of the time, it's almost the opposite in how you approach it. It's just, if you've got MS, you're fucked.
Aye.
And I really find that difficult to accept.
I think because I met lots of different people, not just through my own journey, but also through sort of like the MS Society branch. Of course, yes, I'm bitter. I'm bitter it happened to me. Why me?
Yeah.
We've all, I think, you're not human if you don't go through that. I've had some extremely depressive states. In 2010, 2011, 2012, my extended hospital stays, I think I had 2 in the space of 3 years. I became suicidal because I was like, is this how it's going to be?
there's a shit life, there's a shit way of
Is,
living.
is this
Yeah.
is this it? Look at the pressure I'm putting on my husband.
Yeah.
Look what I'm doing to my daughter. I'm sure they would be better off without me. And I genuinely believed that at the time. And obviously being in hospital for a length of time, it doesn't do anything for your mental health either.
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
Yeah.
And I still have my dark thoughts, but I do my utmost to not let them win, because
control them better.
It's shit, but there are shitter things out there. And, you know, I know people, I mean, you say, you know, my journey's not as bad as yours. I do the same. I'm like, oh, it's not
and
as
it's
bad
not
as...
a competition. It's
not a competition.
I need to check myself.
You do feel... But I understand the guilt thing.
Yeah.
You know, I see somebody that's younger than me who's dealing with worse than me, and I think, oh God, I'm so lucky.
Yeah. And
then you kind of look at a normal person in inverted commas and go,
absolutely, yeah.
So there's lots of, and I won't lie, I do get pissed off with the ultra positive people. No, MS. Well, I might have MS, but MS doesn't have me. I'm going to win. I'm like, it's an unfair battle.
No, this is a cure.
I cannot, because all that does is makes me feel like a failure, because it feels like there's something that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm relapsing and I'm getting worse. So it must be something on me, because somebody out there's running a marathon and they're doing absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Instead of what I should be feeling is, maybe if they worded it differently, I'm pleased for folk that have got MS and can go out and do their shit. But I don't think they paint a fair picture to the people that are stuck in the house doing bugger all, because they can't do bugger all. And
I think it's having the empathy and understanding. It's almost like knowing your audience a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I was that guy. I've got YouTube videos when I first started it, and I'd sign off saying I'm Barney, I've got MS, but it doesn't have me. And I probably did that because I genuinely didn't want to feel like it was hindering what I did or who I was.
I do kind of get why people say it.
And I absolutely. But then I stopped making those videos anyway, because again I ran out of things to say or share, or thought they just had run their course.
Yeah.
But I then found myself getting frustrated by how MS is portrayed. Generally, it tends to be a fairly doom and gloom scenario, which is dead easy.
It's either or.
It's the
not.
Nuances,
there's no middle road.
The nuances in the middle, where we'll all have good and bad days.
Yeah.
But everybody has good and bad days.
Yeah.
You know, it's a funny thing.
I think
I'm still trying to come to terms with how I want to express MS on my life.
I use the spoon theory a lot.
I've never looked into that, but that's
right. So it's like, so everybody is given 15 spoons for everything that they do all day. So say a shower is 1 spoon.
Okay.
Like for Steve, a shower's a spoon. For me, a shower's 3 spoons.
Okay.
So I've only got 12 spoons left now. I've still got to get dressed.
Yeah.
There's another 2 spoons gone. So now I'm down. I had 5 spoons. I've only got 10 spoons left for the rest of the day.
Okay.
Now, so I've got dressed. I'm going to go through and make myself a cup of tea. That's a spoon. Right, I've got to go down to see my mum. That's a couple of spoons. I'm going to have to drive. And then I was due to go to the MS group on Thursday night. But I've also had to have lunch. I've had to come home, prepare tea. I've run out of I've got no spoons
left.
So I'm constantly having to pick what I'm going to spend my spoons on.
Okay.
And I found that very difficult to come to terms with. But using the spoon theory to explain to other people why I've cancelled on them again made it easier, because I don't know about you, but I think partly because I stopped work. as well.
Yeah.
Friends just disappeared.
Right,
Just
okay.
because you're coming out on Friday night, whatever, and you would say yes, but then when it got to Friday night, one, it's the end of the week,
The
two, it's
enthusiasm
the
kind of
evening,
goes.
and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, do you know what, I can't. Because that also means I've written off Saturday and Sunday, the only time I get with my family, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you're like going, is it worth it? So then you don't go. So then people stop asking you. And then you become socially isolated. And then you don't want to go out. And you don't want to keep contacting them.
Yeah.
Because you start feeling like that really annoying, needy person.
Okay.
So I've got some really good friends that I've made since having MS. They also have MS because they get it. And I've also got a couple of really good friends that I've known for
You've
years.
kept them as friends. So they're
and
proper.
They,
I mean, we have a lot of mates and pals, but there's friends.
But the sort of the general. So I mean, that's difficult. You've not got your work to socialise. The people from your work that you thought were mates have disappeared.
Yeah.
And so that all feeds into the depression and the, what is there in my life? And I've had to give up my music. And, oh my God. And I mean, it's all hard, but you have to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to sit and wallow, or are you going to push?
I mean, I guess it's only the second time I've been in your company.
Yeah.
But you've certainly got a wicked sense of humour, which I think must help. The way that you look at life in general.
It's the way I deal with it. We've always dealt with it. We laugh.
Yeah.
We make jokes. Usually not very politically correct jokes. My daughter still cracks up every time when she recounts the story of when I saw a spider and I thought my legs could still run. So my upper body went to move and my lower body didn't.
That's because you were afraid of the spider.
Yeah, I wanted to get away from the spider. So I tried running out in the hallway there. And instead of running, I ricocheted off the walls and face planted.
It's not funny.
And then when they kind of came running through, you all right? I was like, there's a spider. And
the spider's mocking you on the wall.
It's like, what are you doing? I was trying to run away. What made you think you could run? I said, I don't know. Once they stopped laughing, they helped me up. So, I think you have to laugh. And when you're in the moment, it's hard to laugh. I think when I was in hospital and the whole spreading shite thing, I was probably on so many drugs I just didn't give a shit anyway.
Well, you did, but...
Well, I did. Massive. So you do. But I think I'd also just reached a point where I didn't care anymore. I'm in hospital. What do you think is going to happen?
There's a degree of acceptance. So this situation right now, the stuff I can control, and my bills is one of the things I can't. So I'm just going to have to deal with this. Just let the people look after me.
I think I've had so many... I've got so many horrific bowel stories that people go, really?
That's maybe why you didn't get invited to parties.
It's probably, yeah. There was one time I was in hospital with a relapse, and it's always my lower body, but it seems to be spinal relapses that get me. And I had no control again, and I had no feeling. I only had hearing. So I'm in a bay with two old ladies opposite, and I let out the loudest fart. And all I heard, because I had my back to them, all I heard was these two old ladies. They must have been in their 80s, Barney.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we should call the nurse? That pair of lassies blowing shit bubbles out of arse. I just lay there, feigning sleep, my head in the pillow going, oh my God, just kill me now.
That's superb.
And I was just like, oh, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Made their death on it.
I don't think there's anything that can happen to me now that's worse than that. So you just go with it.
MS is shit, isn't it?
It really is
It
shit.
really is.
But it doesn't detract from. I still get dark thoughts.
Yeah.
Where's this going to go?
Yeah.
How's
Especially if
it
you're going
going
through
to
another
end?
relapse, and it's just like, oh no.
You know, it's just oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely.
Because I kind of thought it plateaued out. That was my understanding. That you go relapse remitting, and then it kind of stops, plateaus. And if you're lucky, it just stays there. And if you're not so lucky, you go into secondary progressive and it just slowly declines.
Yeah.
Whereas mine, but it could be that I've had all the issues with Ocrevus and I was off a drug, off anything, and it could be that, which...
But that's the unknown
that's
thing
the
about
thing.
it, is that...
I mean, does that not make you laugh when you do see the neurologist and they say, have you got any questions? And I normally react to none that you can answer.
Yeah.
So no, not really.
Yeah, I used to take a list of questions and then it became kind of repetitive.
Yeah, because it's like...
and non-committal.
Yeah.
Because they can, I guess. They can give you a very broad, general kind of response to, so what's next?
Well, it could, you know... So do you think I'm going to have another relapse? Do you think there's another one in the pipeline? Oh, can't really.
And that's where the whole network of people and everything. And there's still, there's two or three that I kind of still go to and follow. And if their stuff pops up, I'll have a look. But I'm not as hooked on them anymore, which is probably a good thing. I think, because I used to come home from work and I'd be straight on to see who's posted another video, who's shared another.
For me, I mean, podcasts and all that kind of stuff weren't a thing in 2006, 2007.
Of course not. No,
I mean, we were still on Friend Reunited at that point, so you didn't even have...
That's another one for the older generation.
Yes, so you didn't have any of that kind of thing.
That's right.
So the thing that I had... Yeah,
Bebo.
So there was a thing, it was on MSN. I think you had...
Yeah, okay.
Whatever it was called. Yeah, MSN.
MS Messenger or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But there was one that you could do online and it was a chat room.
Okay.
It was called Julie's Joint. I don't know if it's still in existence. But it was people all around the world. So at that time, I still quite often suffer from really bad insomnia.
Okay.
It can be anything. Sometimes pain wakes you up and then you can't get back to sleep, whatever. So I would be awake. So I would be speaking to Canadians and Americans because they've just woken up. And that was brilliant because that was real people. And, you know, so I was like new and they're like, oh, you're a newbie, or have you tried this, what are you doing, and all that kind of stuff. And that was my kind of place of where do I find out stuff.
Yeah.
There was the MS Society that had, but you couldn't really, there was no instant chat.
Their forum is still pretty clunky.
Yeah. So there was nothing. It was more the later on when you got the support groups. Yeah. But you're lucky, it's hit or miss with some of them as well.
Yeah.
I would say the Support Scotland one is really good. The Shift one,
MS.
I feel too old for that now, though, because I feel that's definitely a younger crowd.
I do follow them on X as it is now.
Yeah.
And I did register on their website page and started with some of the threads and things. Again, I'm really inconsistently involved. I know they have like a weekend takeover on Twitter. X.
All right, yeah.
I'm never really sure how engaged people are because I see other people's responses, but it never seems particularly high volume. And I'm not sure if that's what they expect or if there's other responses you can't see behind other people's walls.
I don't know. I've never really...
So I don't know what the engagement
I've never really engaged.
I try to engage because I feel like I'm part of that community.
Yeah.
But I'm on the edge of that community.
I think, I mean, when I was doing the Perth and Kinross MS branch thing, it wasn't so much at that point that I felt I needed the help. And it was how I would try and get people to come and volunteer and do stuff with us. It was like, yeah, you might not need the help, but maybe your experience could help somebody else. Yeah. And I felt really strongly about that.
Yeah.
And I still do, and I have, when I'm able, have started trying to go back to the one at City Mills, which I think is not highly attended.
Usually about 8 or 9.
Yeah, which is a shame, but I think it's still recovering from COVID. COVID killed everything. And I think it's just
for me, it's just it clashes. Well, it did clash because it's usually a Thursday night, isn't it? In Perth, you've got one in Bankfoot.
No, there's one in Blair. There's a coffee morning in Blair, a coffee morning in Kinross,
and then the evening,
in Perth.
And so the Perth one, it just clashed. Either I'd be driving home from somewhere and couldn't get there in time, or I was going to a gym for a spell, which was a Thursday night as well.
Yeah,
and I was always reluctant to give the gym up.
Whereas,
I guess my it was that maybe that was my spoons. What did I sacrifice?
I mean, we do it subconsciously.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I know towards the end of the week, my willingness to engage gets less.
Aye. Yeah, I wake up in the morning with that, and by 12 o'clock,
all
those great ideas that I had at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock have kind of faded.
If I have a day, it's like, it's not happening today, and it gets to 12, I'm like, it's not even worth getting dressed now, really, is it? Past midday, might as well stay in my jammies.
We'll chill out today.
I try and make them less.
Yeah, you do. You want to feel like a active-ish person. You know what I mean? You want to be like up and taking the day.
I mean, I think I'm nowhere as active as I was pre that relapse in 22.
Yeah, that was a big
just
one.
because of what I can do. I mean, I'm driving again, and I've got my electric wheelchair now. But getting the electric wheelchair in and out of the car on my own,
that's going to be
it's very difficult. Yeah. We're trying to get a wheelchair accessible vehicle.
Oh, right, okay,
trying to apply for a grant for that.
Okay, I'll take a bit of work.
Geez, it's like, okay, so you're disabled, you're retired, you're on disability, PIP I'm still on, I've not moved over to ADP yet. And it's like, well, we'll give you a small grant, but you're still going to have to pay £3,500 up front. And I was like, well, don't have it.
Yeah.
What do I do? It's tough, innit?
Murder there.
I mean, we bought my mum bought me my electric wheelchair because I'm not eligible for an NHS one because I can still walk in the house.
Oh, of course, I've seen the whole thing about
and going outside is a luxury, apparently.
Crazy, yeah.
I know they're stretched, but...
Yeah, but, I mean, that's a whole other podcast about the support, being inclusive, and being treated as a person that's got the same needs and the same kind of, I guess, the wants to get outside and be active and be normal, but you're restricted. But if you're financially restricted, it's such a handicap. Pardon the use of the word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is.
It's there is an inequality, which, like I say, it's a whole.
That's a whole other topic.
That's another episode altogether. Let me ask you a couple of last wee things. I'm conscious I've taken up so much of your time. What advice would you give to somebody that finds himself on the beginnings of MS?
I think I would probably say step away from Google.
Dr. Google's a bastard.
It's a bastard. Just don't do it. Do not do it.
Yeah.
Speak to real people.
Aye.
And don't be scared of real people. One of the first things I did on Professor Reardon's advice was to go to the hyperbaric chamber in Dundee at Peddy Street.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not 100% how much the treatment
it's like oxygen, isn't it? It's like super oxygenated.
Yeah, you're done at pressure.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100%. It's one of those, I don't think I realised it was doing anything until I stopped going. And then I went, maybe it was. But the network of people I met there was second to none. And yeah, that first time I went in was terrifying because I saw people in wheelchairs that couldn't speak properly, their ability, had horrific tremors. And then, as it was pointed out to me by a lovely woman who said, yeah, but I was diagnosed like 40 years ago. I didn't have the treatments that are available to the likes of you.
Nothing,
so, hopefully you'll never get to a stage.
And where I'm at, because I was diagnosed, I guess, 10 years after you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was offered 2 treatments, but there's, I don't know how many there are.
There's loads.
Yeah.
And they're really highly effective ones. I mean, the first one I went on, I think it reduced relapses by a third.
Yeah.
Whereas the disease-modifying drugs I'm on now for the last 3 have been reduced by 80% or something.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're talking different level. And I think the way it is now, if you're diagnosed with MS as active as mine was back then, you'd have been put straight on Tysabri, one of the sort of like what they call second line drugs, whereas I was put on Copaxone, so maybe there wouldn't be as much damage. But yeah, for somebody that's starting out, don't keep it all in. It's normal to have the denial, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, to then going into the deep dark hole of despair, my life is over.
Yeah.
But reach out and speak to people, because there are people that want to know.
Yeah.
I can understand possibly in some workplaces, but I've got 2 feelings about it, where you keep it to yourself and you don't want anybody to know in case it affects your chances of promotion, all this kind of stuff. But, you're covered by the Disability Discriminatory Act, so they'd be stupid to. But I also feel that if everybody keeps doing that, nothing will change.
Yeah, bring it out into the open, I feel.
I feel we need to be telling people that, I can't do that today. I might be able to do it tomorrow, but I can't do it today because I've got this illness. Because there's still that stigma of, and I think Little Britain has a lot to answer for. With,
Andy in the chair.
Yeah, lazy bastard disease, you've got MS, no, it's lazy bastard disease, more than that one. And you get up and then run around. The amount of times I've been in a wheelchair and then got up. And people look at you.
I tell you, so if I can paraphrase what I think, I think talking to people rather than going on Dr. Google's key. I think that's such an important thing. And also there is hope, particularly now, the progress and the developments and everything that's available. Whilst you didn't want to have it, it's better having it now than it is 20 years ago.
Totally.
And that's kind of where I'm at. But oh crap, what were we saying? Oh, there was someone you made me want to say.
I'm trying to think what I said. But
talking about Andy for Little Britain, and then there was someone else.
Getting it out in the open, you don't want it to be that thing where nobody talks about it. And it almost feels like you shouldn't talk about MS. Because you don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. How other people feel is on them.
Absolutely, 100%. And the funny thing is, and you said it right at the start, telling us about your diagnosis and not knowing what MS was. I was the same boat. I kept getting it mixed up with ME, actually. But to say that, I kept thinking, have I got it? No, I've got MS. And now the amount of folk I know with MS, or people that'll tell me that they know folk with MS, it's just like, fuck, they're everywhere.
When I first got diagnosed, the amount of people that knew whose friend's auntie had it, I'm like, oh, that's right. And then they normally finish off the story with, oh, they died. And you're like, nice.
Thanks for that. That's the boost I needed.
It's like, people say, oh, I don't know, is it shorten your life by 5 years or something?
I think so, but your average life, if you're 75 and in Scotland, I think your average life. Absolutely.
I tell people I'm not going to die of MS. I will die with MS, but I'm not going to die of MS.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah, definitely. And people I know talking about the amount of people that have got it, Tayside and Scotland.
We're a hot spot.
Absolutely, we've got one of the highest per population of people with MS.
I
think
know.
it's us and Orkney.
Yeah, I know 3 people in mine and Mona's
Yeah.
year group from the grammar
Really?
that have got MS.
Good God.
And you're like, what was in the water that year?
Yeah.
What was in the water in 71?
Wow. It is a strange bugger.
But yeah, I hope that there'll be a cure.
I hope so. And again, it's another. I need to stop being so cynical because I see lots of reports, and usually the reports are presented with a headline in such a way that it makes it look like they've found the cure or they're very close. And even the MS Society has got a strapline about make whatever donations and let's find a cure, or we're closer to a cure than ever before. And we probably are. I say we. Science probably is much closer to a cure than it ever has been.
I think,
but it still seems to be a bit of a crapshoot.
I'm very cynical now because these same headlines are coming out and have been coming out since I was diagnosed in 2006. So when I get lots of well-meaning people sending me, tagging me in, oh, have you seen this? And I'm like, yeah, all right.
I know.
I think one of my, it's kind of how I console myself with it, because I know it's not hereditary, but you can't help worrying that your child, you can't help worrying, especially when the first thing they ask you when they diagnose you is, has anybody in your family got it? Should I be worried?
It's like a knee-jerk reaction, and they do say a genetically potential.
Yeah, I know, but I know so many people whose mother, daughter, mother, son, auntie, all the rest of it have got it. So I'm like, I don't think, in all honesty, they will find a cure in my lifetime. I think
that's my lifetime as well then.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but if, God forbid, my daughter does develop it, I hope that they'll find one for her.
Either a cure or even improved ways of managing it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what you can, certainly from my point of view, and again, I feel this is a contradiction. I'm fortunate that my MS isn't as bad as your MS, and it's not a competition, and I'm not laying the two side by side. But I do hope that they come up with something which says, okay, we can manage it to the point where actually you don't have to even worry every so often about how bad it might get, and there is a mental strength required not to have that kind of natural human thought process about, fuck me, I've got this crappy chronic illness.
It is. I think it's not even the symptoms anymore that is difficult to live with. It's the constant uncertainty. It's the constant no longer wanting to make plans too far ahead. It's usually much more spontaneous now. I'm having a good day, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Enjoy the day you've got,
Rather than, right, see on the 3rd of August, we're going to go and do that. Because I can guarantee...
You can pencil it in.
Something will happen.
Yeah.
It's just... It's living with the uncertainty that I think has been the hardest thing, and it's still the hardest thing to live with.
You plan with the best of intentions, but you might have to make an adjustment and just say, nah, every so often. Yeah, I think that's probably as good a place to kind of bring it. Live for the day as best as you can.
Yeah.
Plan for as best you can.
I'd like to say also that I pace myself on those days.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm 16, 17 years in, and I still go crazy on that good day and then pay for it for the next 5.
But the good day's worth the 5?
But totally.
There you are.
Totally.
That's all that matters.
It's like, okay,
and that's
when will you learn?
That's the strength of character. That's the humour, I think, that you carry as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, today, we'll take today for what we can.
Yeah, well, I'm going on my first solo public transport trip next Friday.
Where are you going?
I'm going from Perth to Glasgow and then Glasgow to West Kilbride.
All right, okay.
So I've got my wheelchair space on the bus to Glasgow, and then I've got my passenger assistance for
on the
train from Glasgow Central.
Christ, I hope that goes well for you.
Just don't.
No,
I'm terrified.
It'll be brilliant. It'll be amazing. It'll be the best and the most.
I am terrified, but I'm like, well, the whole point of me getting the electric wheelchair was that I could have more freedom and do more.
Yeah.
So
You need to let me know how that goes.
I'm terrified, I won't lie. If it doesn't go well, ScotRail can expect a very nasty letter.
Absolutely. No, quite right, definitely. But it's about parity, it's about equality, it's about whatever adjustments need to be made.
Yeah.
So that you can get from Perth to West Kilbride in whatever fashion that it requires.
Yes.
So I wish you all the best with that. I want to hear about that journey. That'd be brilliant. We could add that on as a little kind of...
Yeah. Did I make it?
And did Heather get to West Kilbride and back in one piece? I think we're going to call it a night of that.
That's fine.
I would like to... I sent you a wee message earlier.
Yeah.
And I would love it if you could give me a song.
So I really struggled with this. Being a music teacher, there's so many.
Well, I know.
But the two, there was two. There's one that I just always makes me think of when I was going through diagnosis, was Take That, Just Reformed. Big thing for me, big Take That. And it was Patience was the song. Because at the time, it goes, my heart is numb, has no feeling. So we changed that. My bum is numb, has no feeling. And everybody kept saying to me, it just takes time. It'll come back. It just takes time. You just need patience. So Patience by Take That is one, just because of the timing of it. And that just always resonates with me.
That.
My bum is numb, has no feeling. And the other one, which probably resonates more, is Never Give Up by Sia. And it's the lyrics in that one.
I probably do know it by Sia.
By Sia, yeah. But I never give up. No, never give up. I won't let you get me down. I'll keep getting up when I hit the ground. Literally. Oh, I never give up. Oh, I never give up.
Perfect.
And so on. So that's
perfect.
Yeah.
Both very apt.
Yeah.
And both, the first one certainly shows again that wee bit of humour.
Yeah, that it was just because I was like, every time it came on, and it was a big thing because Take That just reformed then.
Yeah, Karen, I think she went to see them.
Which is brilliant for pub quizzes at the moment, because if that, what year?
You come up, you've got it.
2006.
Superb. Heather, that's been fabulous. Thank you for being the very first guest.
No problem.
What have I called the podcast? Oh, MS is Chronic.
MS is a cunt, yeah.
Take a pic. And that's a wrap. That's magic. Thank you very much.
Nobody.
That's superb. That was brilliant. Thank you for your honesty and your candor.